Hello, BookTube. I've got a little mail for you today on an absolutely gorgeous Wednesday. The proposed change in weather actually did happen. That huge sodden mass of heat and humidity eventually crawled its way out, and now the days are beautiful. And the mornings are cool, the nights are cool, lovely, absolutely lovely. I wish that I could be enjoying this day a little bit more than I have been, but suddenly in the afternoon, my day has been consumed with email tennis back and forth with an editor, and that is slowing me down. That is distracting me from all the other very important things that I wanted to do. But I still get to make videos. I get to make videos, and I get to take the little bean out on walkie poos. Nothing's going to come in the way of either one of those things. So we've got some mail to go through here. The packages range from a tiny one to a box, so there aren't many of them, but I'm hoping for a nice variety. So let's see what this first one is. It's tiny and light, so I am hoping that it's a romance, that it's a mass market romance novel. That would be great. Haven't had one of those in a bit, but let's see what this is. I might be wrong. Let's get you out of... Oh no, I'm right. It is a mass market romance. Fantastic. Great. Great. I love getting these. I should put the word out so that I get more of them. This is Kate Bateman, who I love, and this is Her Majesty's Rebels, Volume 2. This is How to Fall for a Scoundrel. Classic Regency romance. Maybe not technically a Regency romance, since there wouldn't be a Her Majesty then. Maybe this is the early Victorian era, the 1840s, something like that. Lovely thing, and also, I don't know, you can't tell because we don't have anything to measure it against, but this is a normal mass market paperback. This is not one of those square Kindle-sized ones. Well, that's a relief. I really prefer this to those. So this comes out on August 20th. And I believe I read the earlier one. What was the earlier one? Second Duke's The Charm. Oh, no, that doesn't sound familiar. Maybe I didn't read that. Two unlikely allies team up to solve a case in the latest novel in Her Majesty's Rebels. Bateman's signature sparkling voice, exciting adventures, and steamy chemistry jump off the pages. As a founding member of King & Company, London's most successful private investigation firm, studious Eleanor Law delights in secretly proving that women can solve crimes just as well as men. When a charming con man pretends to be her fictional boss, Charles King, Ellie knows he's lying, but accepting the scoundrel's offer to help might just be the key to cracking her new case and recovering a priceless manuscript. Henri Bonnier, or Harry as he asked to be called, claims his criminal past is behind him, but a man who steals and seduces others with such consummate ease can never be trusted. As the investigation draws them deeper into danger and desire, Ellie's infuriated to realize she's developed feelings for her law-breaking accomplice. Fantastic. Okay, I wonder if this will tell us. I'm kind of curious to know the date of this. We start off with a list of rules. Rules of a gentleman's scoundrel. Are any gentleman's scoundrel watching that will want these rules? Rule number 1. Never steal something from a man that he cannot afford to buy back. Rule number 2. Never rob an honest man. Rule number 3. Never go anywhere without a weapon. Rule number 4. Never mix theft with seduction. Rule number 5. Women, jobs, and duels, one at a time. Rule number 6. Always talk to the servants. Rule number 7. If it looks too good to be true, it probably is. And rule number 8. What you take, you sell. What you're given, you keep. No, okay, well, Chapter 1, rather unhelpfully, starts in 1816. Okay, well, I'll figure it out. I'm going to read this. I'll probably read this tonight. I mean, why not? It's going to take no time at all, and I'm in the mood. I haven't read a new romance in quite some time, and it's been even longer since I read a new romance that was any good. I read a new romance last week. It was a trade paperback. It was one of those pastel bisexual lighting cartoon covers, and it was awful. Just awful. Publicist as sweet as the day is long. And gave it the old college try, but the book was terrible. Whereas Kate Bateman, I know and like this author, so there's virtually no chance that I won't like this book. So, How to Fall for a Scoundrel. coming out later in the month. Then let's move on here. What is this next one? Ooh, it's heavy. It's a finished copy of something. That's good. We want finished copies. What is this? Oh, okay, great. You know, I think I already sent this out to somebody. I think I sent the advanced copy of this out to somebody. And now I've got the finished copy. I'm pretty sure of that. Actually, the recipient, if the recipient is watching, the recipient would know. This comes out on September 10th. This is the finished copy of Sean McMeekin's new book. He did a big doorstopper thing called Stalin's War that was fantastically good. Really, really worth your time. As a kind of World War II history that isn't like any other World War II history that you've read. And this is his new book, To Overthrow the World, The Rise and Fall of Communism. I'm blocking the beam. We don't want to do that, do we? No, I'm blocking Her Majesty. We just had a walk outside that was it was a lot of fun. It's not a danger to her for us to go on a little bit of a longer walk. This last month, in the middle of the day, we like to take a walk or two in the middle of the day, whenever she wants to, is when we go. My answer is yes, no matter what. I don't ever say to her, just wait, or, oh, I need to finish this, or anything like that. My answer is yes, if she wants to go out. She doesn't always want to. She doesn't usually want to. She's very, very homesy dog. But now we get to range a little, which is great. That's fantastic. And it gave her a chance to do what she loves to do best, which is to scream at people to pet her. Not to ask them politely. My Basset Hound used to waddle up to people, and then, because she really didn't have much of a sense of bodily control and also was losing her sight fairly early on, she would then waddle into people. She would waddle up to you, but she misjudged the distance and would just sort of headbutt into you. But that was her way of asking for attention, was just to waddle up to you. Frida asks for attention by screaming at people. And she does it so energetically that the sheer force of it pulls her front legs up off the ground. Unfortunately, people love it. No one's ever afraid when she does that. Never. They come right to her. They know that it's just her way of saying hi. So anyway, let's see here. The fall of the Soviet Union convinced the global West that democracy had triumphed over communism once and for all. Which doesn't stop the leader of the American Fascist Party from calling everyone he doesn't like a communist, Marxist, Leninist, fascist. But in the decades since the end of the Cold War, communism is once again gaining momentum in the world stage. Russia may no longer formally identify as a communist, but Vladimir Putin is an unrepentant former KGB officer who invaded Ukraine in 2022, leading to a new Iron Curtain as trade and travel with much of the West has been sealed off. Okay, but where's the but come in there? You say, but Vladimir Putin is an unrepentant former KGB officer, but the second part of that sentence is not in any way refuting the first part. Vladimir Putin is not a communist. His invasion of Ukraine had nothing to do with communism. This new, what you call a new Iron Curtain, has nothing to do with communism. So I don't know why those two halves are set in opposition to each other. Meanwhile, the China model is gaining traction worldwide as government surveillance of data becomes more and more commonplace. Okay, but again, all right, but again, that's authoritarianism. That's America's global dominance has waned in the aftermath of 9/11. Has it indeed? Has it really? Has it really waned? Okay, great. I don't know who wrote this pub sheet. Take a look at the world news. Okay? Take a look at the world news. Take a look at the news in any country, literally anywhere in the world on literally any given day. What is the determining factor in the first 20 stories that you read? I'll give you a hint. It's not communist Russia. It's the United States. The United States is the only world superpower. China is imploding. India is imploding, as this pub sheet accurately says. Putin's Russia has been sealed off from legitimate above board dealings with almost everybody. The United States has nukes in every ocean and every sea. It has military bases on every landmass in every continent, in every country. Its finance rules the world. Its culture rules the world. Its squabbles rule the world. I don't know. So I don't know what that means. I never know what that means when people say that America's global dominance has waned since 9/11. I don't get that. The United States has undercut 20 elections since 9/11. It has almost completely eradicated 3 countries since 9/11. It has changed the map 5 or 6 times since 9/11. It's always in the news since 9/11. So what is that but global dominance? But anyway, whereas China continues to develop as an economic superpower. Okay. All right. I read the same news that you do. I don't see that. Maybe it's true and I'm missing it. This book traces the evolution of communism from Karl Marx. Oh my God. Oh my God. He of benighted name. Oh my God. Such a melodrama behind the scenes. Baby, what are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, now you're kissing me. Huh? What are you doing? How's the little girl? Oh, so sweet. You want to come down here? Maybe go over to your chair? We'll get some Frida yoga there. But maybe she's going to cross the Bering Strait to her chair. Oh, look at that. Do you want to go over there? Yes. Go on. There you go. You can do it. All right. All right. Back to business. So we're only one book down here. Karl Marx is what I was saying, because Princeton University Press, I think, is coming out with a new translation of Capital by Karl Marx. The first volume, the volume that he wrote and finished and saw through the press. It's a new translation, huge new introduction, lots of new notes, and by sheer coincidence, one of you sent me a huge care package full of books, and one of the things in there was the older Penguin Classic translation of Volume 1 of Capital. And I have been, oh my God, wrestling with that volume in preparation for wrestling with another volume this whole time. I talk about, Friday Reads or Currently Reading or Garb August or Summer of Sport or anything like that. Every day I'm making videos about stuff like that. In the background for August, in addition to those things, are 2 other things that I'm not mentioning. One is Karl Marx, his biography, biographical studies, and also Capital Volume 1 in that older Penguin translation. And the other, of course, is Homer's Odyssey, which I read every August. But anyway, Karl Marx. Okay, I'm ready for Karl Marx. I think I am. To Tiananmen Square Massacre, explaining how a social ideal escalated into coercive regimes and why communism is expanding again in the 21st century. Okay, again, what does the vicious massacre of Tiananmen Square have to do with communism? Any repressive government would have reacted the same way. And also, where is this expansion in the 21st century? Where is it? Where is the expansion of communism? Anyway, let's press on here. By tracing the political and philosophical ramifications of communism across continents and centuries, Sean McMeekin unveils the central paradox of Marxist ideology. Communism's utopian promise of social equality has only ever led to violence, economic devastation, and power-hungry dictators. From Lenin to Stalin to Mao, communist rulers have only ever gained power through force, not vote or public approval. Without the sword of repression bolstering the regime, communism has historically never survived on its own. The author urges readers to consider the contemporary threat of communism today as the Russia-Ukraine war rages on and the Chinese communist model of statist government and social life converges upon the Western world. Okay, all right. This book offers a comprehensive history of a global movement while acknowledging that the story of communism is just beginning. Oh, Sean McMeekin, I thought we were boyfriends. I'm not. I know you didn't. Sean, the author doesn't write the pub sheet. But there's very little there that I agree with. Very little. It is not a dystopian nightmare to live in the middle class in China today. If you're going to say what a horrible thing this is and how we should be alarmed about it, you should be able to prove a statist governance and social life. What does that mean? Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to read this. I forget who. If I sent the early copy of this to somebody, I forget who it was. But now I have the finished copy, and it has a blurb from Kirkus. It has a blurb from Kirkus Reviews, which for those of you who maybe aren't up on the publishing world, Kirkus, and especially Publishers Weekly and Library Journal and a couple of others, are trade journals. So publishers send them copies of everything long ahead of time. And unlike all the other reviewers in the business, there is no gentleman's agreement for them to wait until the week of publication date to review the book. Instead, just the opposite. They're expected to review it as fast as possible. So reviews in Publishers Weekly or Kirkus come out months ahead of the appearance of the book. Because the trade journals, first of all, they're not in wide circulation, so they're not expected to affect the popular reception of the book. But second, they're used by institutions to guide their buying. And sometimes by book section editors to guide what they're going to review. In several newsrooms where I have worked, I have gently had to point out to a book section editor when I was working there or I was a freelancer, and they would say, well, I know you're recommending this, but I want to wait and see what Kirkus or Publishers Weekly has to say about it. I have several times gently had to say, you know, you're supposed to rely on them when you don't have me. You don't rely on them when you have me. I've only a couple of times had an editor actually get to the point where they realize that, where they realize, oh, okay, you actually do follow these things and follow these authors, you've read these subjects, you know the industry, you know the bookstores. I probably don't have to wait for some anonymous hack at Kirkus to see whether or not they like this thing. I should probably just listen to you instead. But the excerpt from the Kirkus review here is a wide-ranging examination of how the concept of communism was a key driver of the conflicts of the 20th century and remains a significant force. Notice what's missing from that blurb. Praise is missing from that blurb. That is a summary, either at the beginning of the review or at the very end of the review, a one-line summary. But what about the section of the Kirkus review that evaluates the book? That's missing. But anyway, this comes out, I mean, relatively soon, a month. So I don't need to throw it on the pile tonight with How to Fall for a Scoundrel. I don't need to throw it on the pile for tonight. But Sean McMeekin is a serious historian, and this is almost certainly going to be a serious work. So I should probably give it a lot of time to marinate. I should give it a lot of time to live in it. So maybe I will read it tonight. Maybe these next two packages will affect that choice. Who knows? Let's move on to this next one. This next one is sealed tighter than Fort Knox. You know the informal rule here about that. The more securely a package is secured, the less worthwhile is what's inside it. Let's see if this breaks the pattern. What have we got here? I think I emailed the publicist with this. I think we went back and forth about this. This comes out in late November. This is by Daniel Light, and it is called The White Ladder. Tragedy and Triumph at the Dawn of Mountaineering. So right away you can tell who you're going to get this for, or whether or not you're the target audience. Let's see here. So the author he's both a writer and a climber. And here he has penned a sweeping history of mountaineering before Everest, the epic human quest to reach the highest places on Earth. Whether in the name of conquest, science, or the divine, humans across the centuries have had myriad reasons to climb mountains. From the smoking volcanoes of South America to the great snowy ranges of the Himalaya, this book follows a cast of extraordinary characters, conquistadors and captains, scientists and surveyors, alpinists and adventurers, up the slopes of the world's highest mountains, seeking the summits of the world's highest peaks. Okay, but how far back does that history go? The ancient Romans didn't climb mountains for pleasure. I don't think they did it for exploration purposes either. I don't think the ancient Greeks did. I'm pretty sure that the ancient Persians didn't. They're nowhere in Near Asia. No one ever thought to do that. The only thing you cared about with mountains was a pass that was open in the summer. Pretty sure that no one in medieval Europe or England climbed mountains for pleasure. I could be wrong about that. Am I wrong about that? I don't recall a single thing I've read. Before the flourishing of a popular press where you could let it be known what you had done. Anyway, let's move on. With thrilling pace and novelistic detail, the author traces the epic rise of mountaineering's world altitude records and highlights the roles of local guides and indigenous mountaineers whose feats are too often eclipsed by their white European counterparts. Okay, gotta sell a book somehow. Describing the innovative technical accomplishments of the climbers, the author shows how each new breathtaking ascent heightened no pun intended, heightened the spectacle of their dangerous sport. Right, right, but it wasn't the innovative technical accomplishments. The key here, the key of that sentence is heighten the spectacle. And what do you need for a spectacle? Viewers. You need onlookers for that. It seems to me that mountaineering has been, from its beginnings, very public, and that before the idea of it being possible for it to be public, no one did it. I could be wrong about that, though. Maybe this book will teach me. This book is a story of the true pioneers of high-altitude mountaineering, whose experience casts new light on the eternal question, why climb mountains? Are we discounting Jim Kirk's reason for climbing a mountain? Because it is there. Perhaps because it is there is not sufficient reason for climbing a mountain. I'm hardly in a position to disagree. And let's see, about the author. Oh my God, his author bio note is 1 sentence long. He has been climbing for 20 years, indoors and out. Okay, so does he do that rock climbing business on the plastic rock faces? All the internet sports health influencers are heavy into indoor rock climbing because they can do it without triggering a massive coughing fit. They're all tobacco addicts, huge tobacco addicts. And they know that if they put any actual pulmonary stress on their body, in other words, if they're exercising instead of exerting, they'll start to turn purple and hack up gobbets of blood. And they don't want to do that on camera with their friends there. So they're all into rock climbing. It's so big for them. Oh my God, this is the author's first book. And he lives in London. Fantastic. Okay, well, the history of mountaineering. Great. And then we move on to the box, and then we'll be done. A particularly chatty mail. I don't know why that is. Uh-oh. Oh my God, this one's fighting too. This one needs the scissors. Always a little tricky there. Let's use the scissors here. And then remember, everybody, all you young people especially who are watching, I know that a lot of people under the age of 15 watch my videos. You should always have the scissors near you when you're in a work area because you know you're going to need them. And you want to be able to just reach and grab them like I did. You don't want to have them somewhere else, in a drawer in a kitchen somewhere. But B, the minute you're done with what you were doing, fold them and put them back in that place. Don't just throw them on a table, or worse yet, on a couch or a chair. The minute you're finished with what you wanted to do with them, fold them up and put them back where they belong. Not only because someday you'll be really old and you won't have a sense of memory and you'll need to remember where they are, but also because if you neglect them, they're going to hurt you. So let's see, now that we're done with the lecture, let's see what this box is. I'm assuming if it's a box, it's a finished copy of something. So let's see. Get all this out of here. Oh, great. Okay. All right, fantastic. I didn't know I was going to get a finished copy of this. I think, is this late getting to me? I think this is an August release. Surely it is. Yeah, this is an August release. This comes out in just a couple of weeks. Okay, all right. Well, I have the finished copy. I will try to be a little bit more diplomatic to it than I was when I got the advanced copy. This is due in late August. This is the finished copy of Paradise Bronx by Ian Fraser. Who a lot of you will you'll know this author and really, really like him. He's never written a book that wasn't enjoyable. Never. And the subtitle here, which caused me to give a Bronx cheer, is The Life and Times of New York's Greatest Borough. I know that a whole bunch of losers on Staten Island would disagree with that, but nobody cares what they say. But there are a couple of other boroughs that might also object. Okay, so in the meantime, from when we first did this has made the rounds. Vivian Gornick gave it a blurb. Kenneth Jackson, who is the editor-in-chief of the Encyclopedia of New York City, gave it a blurb. Booklist gave it a blurb, and Kirkus Reviews gave it a blurb. So let's the Kirkus Review, the blurb from Kirkus Reviews has shots fired, as the kids say, an appreciation of a unique area that will appeal to those who have had enough of Tales of Manhattan. Oh. Who could ever have too many Tales of Manhattan? Oh God! All right, New York factionalism at its finest. Very nice thing, very eye-catching. For the past 15 years, Ian Fraser has been walking the Bronx. Okay, whatever floats your boat. At one point during his peregrinations, he set a goal of walking 1,000 miles, exploring as many corners and stories as he could find in the northernmost borough of New York City. One of the smallest of the 42 miles, the Bronx looms large in our imagination. The Bronx is burning, home of the Yankees and the Bronx Cheer, where hip-hop was born, where J-Lo, too, was born. When Edgar Allan Poe penned Annabel Lee and Eureka, from Jonas Bronk, who brought land from local Native Americans to the formerly gang-racked South Bronx, Fraser's loving exploration is a moving tour de force about the polyglot culture that is America today. During the Revolution, when the Bronx was unclaimed territory known as neutral ground, some of the war's decisive battles were fought here by George Washington's troops. Gouverneur Morris, one of the most colorful founding fathers, that's putting it mildly, owned a huge swath of the Bronx, where he lived when he was not in Paris during the French Revolution or helping write the U.S. Constitution. He had nothing to do with writing the U.S. Constitution. Fraser shows us how the coming of the railroads and the subways, in particular, drove the settling of the Bronx by various waves of immigration: Irish, Italian, Jewish, think the Grand Concourse, African American, Caribbean, and Puerto Rican. The romance of the Yankees, the disaster of the Cross-Bronx Expressway, the invention of rap and hip-hop, the resurgence of the borough's communities are all investigated, recounted, and celebrated in Fraser's inimitable voice. And in this case, that is not pub sheet speak, because this author has an inimitable voice. Those of you who have read him have not forgotten what you read and are looking forward to this book. This author has a following because he is a sure thing. You will enjoy the books that he writes. That's not something I can say about everybody. I think he might have picked a bit of a losing horse with this, but who knows? He might convince me. All of my experiences in the Bronx have been negative, except for one. And the one experience that I had in the Bronx was not only extremely positive, but was extremely positive with a writer whose name you would know. But that's it. That's all. So do we need to read Ian Fraser's biography? Let's give it a try. He's the author of Travels in Siberia, Great Plains, On the Res, Lamentations of the Father, and Coyote vs. Acme, among other works. He graduated from Harvard University and is a frequent contributor to The New Yorker, and he lives in New Jersey. Okay, fantastic. All right, well, this comes out soon, so there's quite a bit here that I could read tonight. The White Ladder probably is the only one that's not. I probably couldn't read this thing. I couldn't justify reading this tonight because it's so far away. But the others, yes. Yes, I absolutely could. Paradise Bronx. Those of you who live in New York, those of you who are maybe, God forbid, Bronx fans, maybe even, is there anyone listening to the sound of my voice from the Bronx? Well, you're going to want this book, right? Your libraries are all going to have it, but you might want this anyway. What does the Bronx do for bookstores these days? Do you have any that aren't stupid, upscale, yuppie boutique? Do you have any real bookstores? Are there Barnes & Nobles in the Bronx? I think there's one, isn't there? Anyway, you've got Paradise Bronx, so much fun. You have The White Ladder, about the history of mountaineering, but it doesn't come out for a while. It doesn't come out until the third week in November. So this one I don't have to really think about. I can put this one off the radar. The others, not so much. Paradise Bronx, I admit, it's the end of the month. It's 2 weeks away, so I am totally justified to read it tonight. But I also want to. This is an author who's very inviting because he's so good that you want to read. You get a big book of his, you want to sink into it. I can name a few popular nonfiction authors that are like that. Simon Winchester, for me, is another author like that. You just want to dig in. You get a new book of theirs, you just want to dig in. Then another author I really like, To Overthrow the World, Sean McMeekin's History of Communism. Now, all the fuss that I was making about this, keep in mind, was all about the pub sheet. It wasn't about the book. True, the author usually has a look at the pub sheet. Usually the pub sheet is not taking you down a completely opposite path from what the book is like. A couple of the contentions here worry me a little. I'm no defender of communism. But a couple of the things that it was being knocked for here are not its fault. And the central contention of the pub sheet is that communism is worthy of study because it's massively on the rise again. I don't see that. Unless we're making such an elastic definition of what communism is that no longer applies to Marx or anybody else like that. But it doesn't matter. This thing is coming out soon. This is, what did we say? September 10th. When it comes to a book like this much meat on the bone, where I'm going to want to know it fairly well, that's not that much different than late August. That's pretty much the same date. So those two hardcovers, yes, indeed, well worth looking at tonight. And then this thing, of course, which I want to read tonight, How to Fall for a Scoundrel. Pop that on tonight as well. So not a bad mail haul. We have To Overthrow the World, The White Ladder, Paradise Bronx, and a from the opening page is a Regency romance. I don't know who the Her Majesty is there, but maybe it goes on in time. Maybe the narrative takes us to Victoria. But not a bad mail haul. There's a little fiction of just the kind that I like, and then a lot of nonfiction. So, natural history and sports, downright history, and also regional study, a regional walk around for a guy who's spent thousands of hours walking around the Bronx, for God's sake. People who are tired of Manhattan. Anyway, this is fine by me. There might be more mail today, but I'm gonna wrap this up for now. But I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.